I saw this article about 10 years ago, and it got me thinking about an idea. The idea made total sense, and I figured someone else would explain the idea better than I could, but I search for it about once a year, and I have not been successful in finding anyone talk about this. But this program I found recently called Universe Sandbox finally made it possible for me to illustrate it. I believe I can explain many prehistoric scenarios using one event. These scenarios would include the Great Flood, the Firmament, Atlantis, and the human migration into the Americas, and it uses an event that is very much possible and has been observed. I'll set the groundwork for each scenario. I'm pretty sure that the Great Flood did happen. While it is popularized as a Christian story in English-speaking countries, the Great Flood transcends almost every single culture around the world, so I don't doubt that it happened. But the main issue is, where did the water come from? Most of the theories I have seen require bending the rules of the observable reality that we live in. Next is the firmament. The firmament is something in the book of Genesis that talks about a body of water surrounding the earth. There is also some interpretation that while the firmament was in place, it did not rain much, if at all, on earth, and after the flood, the firmament is gone, and today we get lots of rain. Atlantis is a fabled city written about by Plato in the 300 BC time frame. It's really a tale about an advanced civilization that existed at one time, but vanished at some point. The idea I like about this is it possible that humans were more advanced than we thought, and something reset us, akin to sending us back to the Stone Age? I don't think that this is a baseless idea, because even today in our current world we have humans that have gone to the moon and sent probes into space, yet there are humans on this planet that are still in the foraging phase. And there are humans that have created nuclear bombs and have nuclear power, yet there are humans that don't even have the concept of numbers. So the idea of an advanced race just depends on the perspective of the person using the word advanced. And finally, my last topic is that of the humans getting into America. It is believed that humans started in the Middle East, somewhere around Mesopotamia, which is in modern-day Iraq. The narrative that I was taught as a child was that humans crossed from Russia to North America over a land bridge made of ice during an ice age. But there's some disagreement about the earliest humans in the Americas versus when the ice ages happened. I think this land bridge route is still valid, but I do not require an ice age to cross it. So let's start with the idea that the world that we observe today is the same as the way the world was in prehistoric times. The physics and all the other rules are still the same, and the water cycle still holds true. So we can assume that the amount of water on the planet today is the amount of water that was on the planet after the Great Flood. And we can assume that if we do not see a sphere of water surrounding the Earth now, there probably wasn't one in the past. So that would mean that the only way that all of this water could be here now is if it wasn't here to begin with. With less water, that would mean that there could have easily been a real land bridge between Alaska and Russia. They did not have to cross during an ice age. The bridge would have been accessible at all times. The Bering Strait is only about 160 feet deep. If we lowered the Earth's oceans by 160 feet, that means that much more land would have been available throughout the world. For as long as history has been written, water passages have always been the most important place for humans to live. Even today, we see that on the coasts there are metropolitan areas, while deep in the inland the people are much less advanced in terms of quality of life. That has changed in the last 100 years due to motor travel, but up until that point, living on the coast or a river was the only way to have successful trade or a strategic military advantage. So here's my idea. Back in 2007, I saw this article about how scientists had discovered a massive cloud of water deep in space. What if at one point one of these clouds passed through our solar system? It probably would have taken a while to get here, maybe a couple hundred years. But during that time, a couple hundred years would have been 6 or 7 generations. and word of mouth was the only real way to pass history. So for them, 2 or 3 generations is all it would take to be forever. During that time, the sun's reflection and the heat in the atmosphere would make it appear to be sparkling water in the sky, and that would explain the firmament. Once the cloud got near Earth and we started passing through it, the frozen water would melt in the atmosphere and completely saturate the air, and then it would start raining. It would not be a localized rain like what we see now. It would be the entire Earth being rained on for an extended period of time. And all that water would rush out to the ocean, and anything near rivers or oceans, like human populations for example, would be washed out to sea and buried by all the sediments picked up from higher elevation. Think of the world as being in one big mudslide. The people living in the higher elevations would not be as threatened by the flooding, and so the more advanced civilizations would be destroyed, and only the more simple societies in the highlands would be left, hence a reset. Once this space cloud passed, things would settle down, and Earth would have a lot more water content. I'm not a scientist, and there are many ifs and or buts associated with this idea, but I think it does make sense in general. And I think it helps to explain why there are stories from ancient times that seem to persist across multiple cultures who never had any interaction. The explanations they have may not be agreed upon, but there probably was a basis for the story.